Hey, what's going on everyone? I'm the Intel, and today I'm going to be ranking most of the Battlefield games on a tier list. There's a slight twist this time around. I'm actually going to be ranking all the Battlefield games from Battlefield Bad Company 1 onwards, as I've actually never ever played any of the Battlefield games previous to Bad Company 1, like games like Battlefield 2 for example. I will hopefully one day get around to playing them, but again they're multiplayer only and I don't know if their server's still up for those games. But, as always, this is just my own opinion, but with all that aside, let's begin with Bad Company 1. Battlefield Bad Company put Battlefield on the map, being the first entry for console and actually being exclusive to the consoles for the very first time and only time ever as well. Battlefield Bad Company had a revolutionary destruction physics system. Each part of each building could be demolished and level a whole building. Yet only 2 games in the series would ever use this insane destruction, and we'll touch on the other game very soon. Bad Company also had a campaign mode, another first for the series, and well, it's really good surprisingly. It was well written, had decent missions, and was just a fun experience overall. Bad Company's multiplayer was, for me, well, interesting. I quite liked Rush, it's a very good mode, very fun, and I really do enjoy it. But Conquest, well, it wasn't even there at launch, and it came after launch as a free DLC, and when it did come, I didn't really like it very much, and honestly for me, I'm a massive Conquest fan, and this really hurt. And to be honest, it's gonna negatively affect the ranking of an otherwise very good game. So overall, multiplayer I wasn't the biggest fan of, due to one mode I spend most time on not really being there until after launch, and it just wasn't very great compared to other entries, and campaign was actually really solid. For this, I'm gonna have to rank it in the B tier. Bad Company 2. What a game. Multiplayer wise, Bad Company 2 was great, and still is to this day, and has one of the most fun versions of Battlefield's multiplayer to date. Campaign wise though, the game seeks to be bigger and better in its missions, but in its story, well, I didn't really like the story as much as I did in the first game. I honestly found the story to be a little bit of a chore to get through compared to the first, and it's something I'm likely never ever going to replay ever again. It just felt like Bad Company was a game that didn't need a sequel story-wise, and the way Bad Company 2 was written, I just don't think it did it justice as a sequel. But, again, multiplayer features that insane destruction engine that the only other game to truly utilize it, and has tons of classes, weapons, and maps, with some of the best maps in the series, being here like Valparaiso. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this map. I really liked the multiplayer though, as it launched with Rush, that worked even better than last time, but it also launched with Conquest, so I was super happy with this entry's game mode selection. Plus, the game had a complete theme transition with the DLC Bad Company 2 Vietnam, which is a welcome surprise and it made an excellent game even better. This game, even though I'm not a fan of the campaign, on its multiplayer alone, pushes it to our very first ever S tier. I don't have much memories of Battlefield Heroes, as I played it very little. I do faintly remember playing it for a little bit ages ago, back in maybe 2013 I think? To be fair, I do remember back then thinking this was like some flash game, web game, that was a rip-off of Battlefield, like stealing the name to try and get popularity. So yeah, I'm just gonna skip this one completely, because again, all in all, I maybe have something like 2 hours of playtime, and it's not fair to rank a game I've barely played, and while the servers aren't up for me to go back and try out the game and give it a second chance. Now, this one. This is one I do have experience with. I played tons of Battlefield 1943. I love it. Honestly, it was my first ever real Battlefield game. I played tons of this game, and I'm definitely biased towards it due to it being my first ever Battlefield, but this was a good goddamn game. Even if it was a little light in content, I really liked it. Some of my favourite Battlefield memories were on this game. Sitting down, playing 1943 alongside friends and family, it was actually a really good time. But let's discuss it. 1943 launched with 4 maps alongside a whopping 10 weapons, almost one for each class on both factions. Not great. The game, in its defense, launched at a price of £10 or $10, and that's a really decent price for a super solid game. Obviously, I'm super biased towards this game again, my first ever Battlefield. Obviously, went back and played the first Bad Company after I played this one. But for me being extremely biased towards it, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Battlefield 3 was the first Battlefield game to truly excel in each department, in my opinion. Despite its buggy and broken beta and launch, it cemented itself as one of the greatest Battlefield games ever made and one of the best FPSs of all time. Battlefield 3 had some of the best maps of all time, from Caspian Border to the Gulf of Oman to Operation Metro. The maps had something for everyone. After all the DLC, the game also has over 50 weapons and gadgets to use, which is easily the highest and most variety in any Battlefield game until this point. Plus, Battlefield 3's campaign was pretty decent in my opinion. Not as good as Bad Company 1, but decent enough to make a fun, enjoyable playthrough, but not something I'm going to come back and replay regularly. Battlefield 3 also for the first time introduced the Premium Packs, allowing for 4 paid DLC packs alongside a free Battlefield 2 pack for everyone. Adding more weapons, maps and gadgets than any other Battlefield to date, Battlefield 3 may have launched buggy and broken, but it launched with so much content and both its campaign and multiplayer were really decent, its multiplayer being amazing. There was lots to enjoy, and there's even a third co-op mode, which was alright, but it got pretty repetitive in my opinion. Overall, Battlefield 3 joins Bad Company 2 in the S tier. At this point in the franchise, it was hit after hit, and the next entry had a lot of pressure. It had to live up to both Bad Company 1 and Bad Company 2, plus Battlefield 3. Could it do it? It did, and it became the best in the series in my opinion. Battlefield 4 had the worst launch yet for a Battlefield game, yet nowadays is the best in the series by a little bit. Battlefield 4 has the most diverse and best maps in any Battlefield game so far, going from the skyscrapers from the Siege of Shanghai to the flooded, dense urban environments of Flood Zone to the snowy cities of North Korea and Propaganda. Truly the greatest selection of maps yet. Alongside tons of weapons and gadgets, 80 to be exact, there was more than enough tools and weapons for everyone to have some fun with. Battlefield 4 even took inspiration from Bad Company's destruction technology with its new Levolution. Levolution allowed skyscrapers to fall over and hotels could split in half. It's seriously impressive. Yet its impact on some maps were minimal and could get boring after a while. Though, multiplayer being the best of Battlefield so far, and being one of the best Battlefields yet, its campaign though doesn't stand alongside the multiplayer at all in terms of quality and content. Battlefield 4 features my least favourite Battlefield story up until this point. I didn't like the missions, I didn't really like the characters, and it just honestly felt a little tacked on, and it's something that took me years to finally come around and finish it. Overall, Battlefield 4's campaign would rank it in the bottom tiers, but with one of the best multiplayer components of the entire franchise, it has to go in the S tier, as the campaign, though important to the game, is truly secondary for the majority of players. The first and only Battlefield game to be created outside of DICE, and it's, well, got a reputation of not being that great. I don't agree with that. Hardline is a game that I had a lot of fun with, and I quite like the cops and robbers theme, plus I love the modes of Heist and Hotwire, truly fun and unique twists on the classic Battlefield formula. The maps left a little bit to be desired and were definitely lacking in some departments, but Bank and Dust Bowl were some really good maps I'd love to see return one day. Weapons wise, it features 51 weapons and 28 gadgets, a solid amount but a decrease from Battlefield 4. Vehicles wise though, it featured the addition of civilian cars and police vehicles, but honestly were nothing compared to the major removal of tanks, as they just don't suit the new cops and robbers theme at all, and tanks just wouldn't have suited Hardline's theme. Honestly, Hardline's campaign though was really bad. Straight bad. If I didn't like 4, I certainly didn't like Hardline's campaign. It just wasn't very good and was one of the most boring experiences I've had in any Battlefield game. Hardline is a decent game, but a bad Battlefield in all honesty. I would have rathered if Hardline didn't even have the Battlefield name. It may have become something much bigger and better if it was just called Hardline. It deserves its place in the C tier. I really liked it, but it is the Battlefield I spent the least amount of time with, unfortunately. That trailer alone. That damn trailer. even only a couple seconds of that trailer makes me immediately want to re-download Battlefield 1 and hop on for another session. Battlefield 1 returns the series back to where it was after Battlefield 4. Greatness. Battlefield 1, in my opinion, is the second best Battlefield in the series, only just a little bit behind 4. Yes, I believe Battlefield 1 is better than 3. Multiplayer alone is one of the greatest experiences I've had in Battlefield and one of the best FPS experiences of all time. The gameplay is so smooth and well made. Animations, gunplay, classes, weapons, everything worked perfectly. The maps complemented this really well. One of my all-time favourite maps, Ballroom Blitz, in the centre was perfect for SMGs and shotguns, was at times reminiscent of Metro and Locker, but the outer areas were closer to a standard map, truly a perfect blend of that close quarters chaos and that standard Battlefield experience. Battlefield 1 had some of the best gameplay maps in any Battlefield game, alongside its cool behemoth system. If you were losing, you got to control a massive Zeppelin. It was really cool. Battlefield 1's campaign was rebranded to War Stories and opened strong with an incredible first mission. But after that, it quickly falls apart, with some highlight stories being the pilot one for me, but mostly it wasn't that great and once again felt a little tacked on. Multiplayer alone puts this game in the S tier, alongside the others. This game is truly, in my opinion, the perfect blueprint for a Battlefield game. Two years later would come the sequel to one of the greatest entries yet. Could it live up to expectations? It did not. Battlefield 5 launched abysmally, being broken on so many levels, removing an addition of many controversial features, a broken trend-chasing battle royale, one of the worst campaigns ever. Yet I'm one of those people who really liked Battlefield 5. I've played tons of this game, and it's one of my most played Battlefields, up there with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. I really liked this game. It had its issues for sure, and I didn't really see this game to be as bad as everyone else made it out to be. I do believe its marketing was some of the worst I've seen, but I like this game a lot, and though others may hate it, I really do like it. Battlefield 5 is one of the most fun multiplayers in Battlefield, and I know it's something a lot of people will disagree with me on, and that's fair, everyone has their own opinion, but in my opinion, Battlefield 5 is a B tier game, falling short of the A just due to its support being cut off way too soon. It was really starting to get good with the Pacific content, and then it just ended. Where do I begin? Battlefield 2042 is the worst Battlefield game yet. There's no denying it. 2042 at its core had good intentions, a return to modern settings, biggest maps and most amount of players yet. But in practice, 2042 ruined all the goodwill from Battlefield 4 and 1 and seemingly has completely lost touch with its player base. 2042 is a broken mess of questionable design decisions throughout the entire game. The maps may be bigger and the player counts being that big is an achievement, but the maps are literal deserts. Orbital is one of my least favourite Battlefield maps of all time. Discarded is my favourite map in the game, and I'd class it as just okay. It's abysmal. This game then has the bright idea of removing classes like medics, support, scout for example, in favour of hero shooter specialists, all of which are so boring and have the worst post-match lines ever.
Yeah, Angel does it again!
This game is even more broken than Battlefield 4 and 5 combined, and that is a goddamn achievement. This game's only saving grace is Portal. Having every weapon, vehicle and gadget from 1942, Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 available was amazing, with 2 maps from each game. Truly should have been one of the most celebrated and well talked about modes, but unfortunately 2042's base gameplay, bugs and hit reg issues prevent Portal from getting the praise it deserves. 2042, after all its updates and seasons, may be a good game in a year. But right now, if all of its removals, broken, just horrible design decisions, it belongs in the F tier. And that's the list. Hopefully you enjoyed this list, and if you want, you can leave your own little tier list down below, and thank you for watching. If you really did enjoy this video, if you could drop a like or a subscribe, that really would be amazing, but it's again not required. I just hope you've enjoyed, because I've been the Intel, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, Angel does it again!